What's up, y'all? Quentin here with Catfish Karma, and today's video is all about building custom fishing rods at home. If that sounds like something that you're into, then I'll bet this video will save you some time, trouble, and money, so stick around. Alright y'all, as I mentioned in the intro, today's video is all about building custom fishing rods at home. You see, we're going to take a deep dive into the most basic, the most fundamental, probably the most important part of this process. We're going to talk about blank selection. But before I get too deep into that, I want to start by addressing some of the new viewers here who might have found this video and this channel simply by researching rod building information. You see, I'm a cat fisherman, and most of my audience are cat fishermen. I spend most of my time and make most of my videos about chasing big trophy catfish, primarily on the Mississippi River. And therefore, in my rod building videos, this one and others in the future, you'll hear me referencing cat fishing rods primarily. We do have some different needs in our cat fishing rods than most other freshwater species. And for that reason, I'll be referring to and speaking to cat fishermen in general in these rod building videos. But if you'll stick with me, if you'll give it a chance, I'll bet you that you can extract some useful information out of these videos that you can apply to your particular species or your particular disciplines of fishing. That said, in this video I'm going to give you some tips basically based around not making some of the mistakes that I've already made in my short career of rod building. As you can see, I've got a rod being finished right now. I've got to add some finish down here. I've got some drying already, but I've got to do another coat. And it's drying and it'll be fishable in a day or so. It's going to be a great rod to fish with, but I did make mistakes, and I'm going to tell you about those. Basically, I got distracted. I got carried away, I got excited by all the cool options that are available in this catalog. And this is just one company, guys. There are many to choose from, but that catalog has over 4,300 items in it, and it can get you spinning. It can get you, no pun intended, and it can get you going and distracted from the core principle that you need to be worried about if you're new to rod building like I am, and that is the blank. You see, this blank is an RCKJB rain shadow blank. It's a great blank. Here's another one just like it, although this is actually the heavier action. It's mostly graphite back here. It's mostly glass toward the tip. It's a thinner diameter than what I'm used to. It's a thicker wall than what I'm used to. Similar in power, but faster in action. It's a great blank to build on, and I've got great components on it. However, here's the tip. First tip of the video, I guess. I recommend that you not even worry about components until you've thoroughly, and I mean thoroughly, researched and tested your blanks. I liked this blank so much. I really like the titanium chrome finish on it. I like the power and actions that it's available in, and I saw it, it got my attention, and I just went to ordering my components and thought I had it made. But then, while I'm waiting on those components to come in and doing more research, I find more blanks that I'm interested in. Like this blank, also a rain shadow blank, but it's a less expensive blank. It's an E-glass blank. The SWB 80M is this specific one. Bigger diameter than the RCKJB, thinner walls. But what this blank does is it gives me a power and action very similar to what I'm more used to, which would be this, the Rip and Lips rod. You guys know that I love these rods. I've been using them for years. If you're not new to this channel, you've seen me catch thousands of pounds of catfish on these rods. It's got enough power for big trophies, but it's not too much power for smaller fish. It's got the right action to where you still can enjoy catching those 10-pounders. But yeah, you can haul in the 80s, 90s, the 100s, no problem on these rods. It's nothing special in components. But bang for buck, you're never going to beat that rod in a production rod, in my personal opinion. Obviously, there are other rods that I like and that I've used on the channel, like the Muddy River rod. It has the most comfortable grip on the market, probably. It's got one of the only aluminum reel seats that I've personally never had back off on me. This is a much faster action than the Rip and Lips rod. My point in showing those other rods, though, guys, is you've got to have a baseline to compare your blanks against when you start ordering your blanks. And like I said, I think the tip is don't worry about components until you've fully researched your blanks and tested your blanks. And I'm going to show you how I go about testing these blanks right now. Let me start with this deflection rack that I've got here. I guess we'll call it it's kind of a rack, a board, whatever you want to call it. You're going to need some way, some consistent way to test blanks. I've got these rod tubes sitting on a 25-degree angle. It's bolted to my bench here. These rod tubes are on about a 25-degree angle. That's a pretty common angle that you're gonna fight a fish at. It's nothing fancy. I built it out of scrap materials that I had laying around. Took me a few minutes to build and almost no money. Prior to having that, I would just take my blanks and just put them on the bench and then set my tackle bag on them with a bunch of sinkers in there, and then I would put a test weight out on the ends of the blanks and look at how they loaded up in that manner. But this is going to give me much better results. And so that's tip number 2 for this video, is while you're waiting for your first batch of blanks to come in, you need to come up with some sort of deflection testing system, or a rack or a stand or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to show you how this one works right now. Okay, so let's imagine for a moment that you have done all your research. You've been reading for weeks, looking at all the different options on all your blanks, forgetting about components. Remember, those are out of our mind right now. We're only worried about blanks. And now we've ordered them. Let's say we've ordered 3 completely different blanks from completely different lines, and maybe we got a couple different actions and powers in each one. And now it's time to start load testing. The way I like to do it is I want to test up against a constant, okay? And my constant is going to be the medium heavy 7.6 Rip and Lips, because I've got more time on those than probably all other Catfish rods combined, other than some of my bumping rods, which is a different genre. So we take one of our new blanks, and we got to see how it stacks up to the rod that we're used to, right? In this case, I've grabbed, this is one of the RCKJVs I showed you a minute ago. It's E-glass. It's E-glass on the tip. It's graphite back here. I don't know exactly how that blend breaks down, but that's the gist of it. Thick wall, thin diameter. This one is the 325. That's the power rating. It's a heavier action. So we got it in the rack, and as you can see, those don't line up, so we can't start testing yet, right? We got to have them on the same plane, or the same parallel. I'm not real up to speed on geometry terms, but the way I do it is I've got some shims made out of some EVA grip. You can cut some off of an old rod, or just order some EVA. Because, you know, we don't have a grip on this thing, so it's going to sit different than a rod with a grip, right? So we got to get them setting correctly. Let's see what this does. That's pretty close. Yeah, that is quite close there. Another thing that you want to keep in mind is differences in lengths. You know, a lot of the blanks that you're going to get in, they might be longer. You might be cutting your blanks down, so when you put them in your rack, you want to keep that in mind and have the tips lined up, you know, relatively close. This is a 7.6 in the Rip and Lips. This is a 7.10 in the RCKJV, and I've got the tips lined up pretty good. So how are you gonna put weight on this rod with no guides, right? Well, that's pretty easy. The way I like to do it is I just take Gorilla Tape, the 1-inch Gorilla Tape, and I put one, maybe 2 wraps around the tip. It's a 1-inch tape, so I'm going to get a consistent result. All my pull points are going to be 1 inch from the tip, which is similar to what we're going to do to the ripping lips because our quick loop is going to be behind the actual guide ring. So I hope that makes sense. And in this case, on this all e-glass blank that I've got over here, I've put the tape farther back from the tip because this is an 8-foot blank, and I know that I'll trim it down by 1 to 2 inches when I build on it, if I build on it. So then we need our quick loops. I've just got some heavy mono here with quick clips, and I'll just use this loop like that around the tip of the rod. There we go, our test loops are in place. Our rods are lined up on a pretty good parallel there. Certainly good enough to start. And now we want to put some test weights on there. I usually test between 2 and 6 pounds. 6 is on the extreme end. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the video that I did about setting drag, and I usually have my drag set at only 6 pounds for freshwater catfish. That is a lot. You're going to find out what 6 pounds actually does to a blank here in a minute. That's a lot of weight for freshwater fishing. So I'm going to put this 2-pound sinker on the ripping lips, medium heavy. As you can see, it's putting a load on there, but it's certainly not too much. So let's find out how the heavier of the 3 powers in the RCKJB stack up against the ripping lips medium heavy. As you can see, it's not even close, which is pretty interesting, right? This is a thinner blank, a much thinner blank than the ripping lips, and look at how much power it has. This is more of a saltwater blank. I believe they call it a knife jigging blank in the Batson catalog. If you guys don't have a Batson catalog yet, just stop what you're doing and get one. It's got tons of information here to help you educate yourself on blanks, powers and actions, and how they get to those ratings. But look at the difference here. If this is the only blank that I ordered because I got distracted by all the cool things in that catalog, well, I'd be screwed, right? I'd just be waiting to order more blanks, and then I might not have the right components. So back to that tip I mentioned, you need to order a bunch of blanks that you think might fill the bill and do some tests. So let's get this one out of here and let's try another one. All right, so what I've decided to do is go to the, I guess you could say the opposite end of the spectrum on these RCKJBs that I have here. This is the lightest of the 3 that I have. I think they call it the 112. You have to look at that tag. And by the way, I'm putting these in here on the spine. Obviously the ribbon lip should be built on the spine, so we just set it in the upright position. But I spine each of these rods to make sure that I'm putting them in the rod tube in the right direction. If you don't know what spining a blank is, you can check out the Build to Fish YouTube channel. They've got a good video on that. I believe also Get Bit Outdoors, another rod building YouTube channel. He's got a really good video on spining the blank, so that's 2 that you guys can check out because I haven't made one of those yet. But yeah, it's sitting on the same plane. I've got the spacers about right. I unloaded the ripping lips just for that, because once we change blanks, we still got to make sure that they're sitting on the right plane or the right parallel. Somebody tell me the right way to word that. Some geometry wizard out there. Is that a geometry thing? I don't know. All right, 2 pounds. Let's see what we got. Whoa, look at that. 2 pounds. Look at that. That's interesting. So before, the RCKJB was way heavier. I mean, it was barely loading at all. And now with this little 112, I think it is. Again, I'll look at that tag. We're talking quite a bit softer. We're pretty spot on back here, right? Pretty close. I don't know if the angle of the camera is perfect for this. I'm doing this solo, but look at how similar they are deep in the rod. And then it's really giving up out here at that last third. So softer, right? Not terribly far off, but softer. So let's grab the medium one and try that. Okay, that's close enough to go ahead and load them up. This is the third and final of the RCKJB blanks. And then I've got another one we're going to check out, but this is the 250 in the series, or the medium. They're 7'10" blanks. By the way, I think I might have said 8-foot blanks a while ago, but they're 7'10", which is where I want to end up. So if it was 8-footer, I'd trim it down, but still a little heavier, a lot more power in the backbone section. Still a little bit heavier in the tip. Closer than that 325, the heavier one that we put up here first. But if I was going for exactly spot on in power and action, none of these three would do it. I still think this is going to be a great blank to fish with. Probably the perfect balance between Rippin' Lips medium heavy and their heavy, because their heavy is just a little much. So this would, you know, if you were somebody that likes the medium heavy and kind of likes the heavy in the Rippin' Lips, that 250 would probably make you real happy, which is why I went ahead and built one. That's what's on the table over here, getting finished up. But let's try this all E-glass blank over here. A true general purpose rod. Let's see how it stacks up. All right, that looks almost perfect. I mean, just almost exact. So I'm going to load them up here. I'm going to put these 2-pound weights on here, and then I'm probably going to fully load them. There you go. Check that out. This is a much different result than what we have with the RCKJBs. Yeah, there's more power in this rain shadow blank. You know, it's holding it a little bit higher. But look at how similar they bend. The action, I mean, that is close. So if my only goal were to mirror the power and action of this Rippin' Lips rod, I suspect I'd only need one more blank. The next step lighter in this rain shadow line here, that I think they're the SWB is what I said. I'll put the number on the screen. The next step down from that would probably be a mash. That's not my only goal. I'm going to build a variety of rods and just build them up and fish with them, and you know, learn new things. Right? That's what this is about, learning new things. But look at how similar that is to one of the most popular blanks in catfishing. So, moral of the story, if when I made my first couple of orders, if I hadn't got distracted in colors of reel seats and varieties of guides and all like that, if I had focused solely on blanks for a little while, I'd have even more blanks here to choose from. More load testing could be done. And that is the point of this video, guys. There's more to rods than color. And I know that's the hot thing in catfishing right now, is who's got the brightest, most obnoxious and gaudy looking rod blank on the market. But that's not what matters to me. What matters to me is the performance. You know, does it do what I want it to do? And to get the most out of our rod builds, it all starts with our blanks. And I've got more of these coming. I'm going to go ahead and build these RCKJBs because I think they're a really cool blank. I've actually got a pretty cool concept in mind for these RCKJB blanks. And you actually saw a hint of it in that rod spinning a while ago, but I'm not gonna spoil it right now. But I've got a cool concept in mind for those RCKJBs. But I'm going to build general purpose anchoring rods on this blank and the one just one step lighter, I believe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. I hope you realize the importance in focusing in on your blanks. If you're new to rod building, that's all that matters initially. You got to get several blanks, get familiar with how they're made and how they perform, or components don't matter. And all that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and maybe even learned something in this video that will help you out in the future. If so, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this or just some cool catfishing videos from the Mississippi River, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss those uploads, and I'll see you in the next one.